Thank you, thank you.
Work better or?
That's how it's got it.
Can y'all pull aggressive about it?
Watch me arch ahead of the power guy.
Y'all are first, right? Ready? Are we live? Okay. Come on, everybody get in. Let's go. Y'all aren't up yet.
You said everybody get in.
Yeah, I want everybody up. We good? Okay, here we go. Howdy. Howdy. Welcome to the final presentations of Aggies Invent, where we've been focusing on augmented reality and virtual reality. My name is Rodney Bain, and I've had the pleasure of facilitating this Aggies Invent throughout the last weekend. We've had 10 teams develop some amazing products with the technology that's been provided from Dell and their partners. We've had 58 students. We've had 15 or plus mentors throughout the entire weekend. We've had a fabulous set of mentors. We've had a fabulous set of being able to really dig into the technology. And I believe that you are going to be amazed at what winds up the students have produced in a very short period of time. I told them on Friday afternoon that Sunday at 3 o'clock was about 4 hours from Friday afternoon. And I'm not sure any of the students believed me at that time. But now, do you believe me that I wasn't lying?
Yes, sir.
All right, there you go. The time passes very, very quickly. We have enjoyed working with each and every one of you. Each one of y'all have really pushed the problem that we gave you very far throughout the entire weekend. And so we've been very pleased and very proud to see what you've been able to do. Now comes the final presentation. This is when you get to convince us. As I told you before, we want to leap across the stage and throw money at your project because we want you to finish it. That's what you need to convince us to do. You have 10 minutes in your presentation. If you look behind you, there is a 10-minute clock behind you. I promise you, I told you from the very beginning, if it gets to 0, I will interrupt you mid-sentence and you will stop. And the judges will get an opportunity to ask questions. This is a competition. The first place, and Dell has really surprised us, the first place, each member of the team is going to get a Dell laptop. The second place team will get $1,000. Third place team will get $750. But more than anything else, because engineering is so focused on entrepreneurship, and I'm responsible for the engineering entrepreneurship program here, we want you to continue. We want you to continue to develop your project. We want you to continue going on. We have courses available for you. We've got a 461 course that's coming up next semester that we will lead you through a lean product startup, and we will help you develop this product into and do customer discovery to make sure that you're ready for it. So please engage with us. Please continue. You will have access to more resources here at the university than you ever will in your career, so take advantage of it. We have an exceptional team of judges here today, and I'm going to give them a few minutes to be able to introduce themselves so that you see the judges and the quality of what you're going to be seeing. If we don't mind, please. Yes, sir. Just stand up, please. Yeah, we got it. There we go. We got you.
I'm Neil Cole. I'm Director of Product Strategy and Innovation for Dell. I focus on writing business strategy for emerging technologies, including virtual and augmented reality.
Perfect.
Hi, I'm Rahul Tikku. I lead the workstation business group at Dell, so the precision workstations, and you guys will, the winning team will get one of our products today. And so really excited. I'm happy to see that time was measured in pots of coffees. So obviously you guys worked really hard. So looking forward to seeing what you guys have here for us today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Anne McNamara. I'm an associate professor in the Department of Visualization here at Texas A&M University. My research looks at how to optimally place information in virtual and augmented reality. So we often combine eye tracking with AR and VR systems, and I'm really excited to see the work that all of you have produced this weekend.
Excellent. Hi there, Rachel Elliston, class of 06 from A&M. I work for Accenture, and I'm responsible for our incubation work on the West Coast. So I spend most of our time working with Google and Pinterest and Snapchat these days, trying to incubate new ideas, ways of working, new business models, as they look to evolve their businesses.
Hello everyone, I'm Brett Johnson, I'm also from Accenture, I'm a senior manager, and I work in growth and strategy across what we call our growth markets, from Latin America through Japan. And my goal, and really what my remit is to bring innovation offerings to our clients through our businesses, and through partnerships such as that with City Ishmael out of City University in Korea. So innovation is pretty core to what we're trying to do.
Okay, let's give our judges a round of applause.
Pleased with the audience here. For those of you online, we really appreciate you. We will be switching cameras and making sure that you get a good view of everything that's going on. And without further ado, let me bring on Team Aggies.
Howdy! Howdy! We are Safety Audibles, an innovative augmented reality technology that will revolutionize the way work is done, as well as increase efficiency and safety in chemical plants across the world.
Hi, my name is Ash.
I'm James.
I'm Robert.
I'm Steve.
I'm Joey.
I'm Peter, and we are Safety Audibles.
In chemical plants across the world, countless accidents and systematic inefficiencies occur due to workers in the plant either not getting accurate information regarding the work environment fast enough or not at all. A lack of communication and awareness in chemical plants about things like gas leaks, fires, or even something like a chemical spill can result in serious injuries or even death. A lack of clear visual representation as well as real-time imaging has created a work environment where ambiguous hazards are left to be interpreted by each individual worker, resulting in a culture where hazards are often neglected. Introducing Safety Audibles, glasses that augment reality and disseminate accurate information to workers in the field of a chemical plant. The Safety Audibles take information from the control center, sensors, and other Safety Audible users in the chemical plant to aid in the overall push for a culture of safety. The Audibles are capable of three main functions. The first is the ability to have workers identify, locate, and categorize hazards anywhere in the plant. The second is the ability for the Audibles to display a visual representation of an invisible gas such as nitrogen. The third is the creation of a cohesive communication network that keeps every worker on the same page regarding the plant environment. These three functions will provide a giant leap forward for the chemical facilities due to their ability to empower workers to identify and fix hazards that once have resulted in disaster.
Environmental awareness and how we can use AR tools to make users more aware of environmental conditions around them. So in terms of chemical plants or refineries, we see that accidents can occur with little to no advance warning. And also there's poor communication that can delay response times and hinder incident response efficiency. And we have seen from research from Environmental Health and Safety Organization that simple communication between employees about the environment is one of the most effective ways to save lives in the field. And according to the U.S. Chemical Safety Board, we found some data in accordance with nitrogen asphyxiation. So from 1992 to 2002, we saw that there were 85 incidents of nitrogen asphyxiation that has occurred, resulting in 80 deaths and 50 injuries. And between 2000 and 2015, there were at least 137 deaths at refineries in the U.S. And most of these were due to the lack of communication between the people who were working in these nitrogen exposure areas and the personnel who was in the control rooms.
Keeping in mind our needs statement and these case studies, we came up with these design requirements. Our design must improve environmental awareness by visually construing many aspects of our user's surroundings. Durability is a necessity for our product because if our product breaks easily, then it won't be of any real value to our users. Augmented reality is a relatively new technology, so it must be intuitive and easy for anyone to use. People should be able to function normally while using our product. We decided that our design should not be visually intrusive.
So our first idea on this whole project was to develop a car or airplane windshield heads-up display that would display a visually appealing display of already acquired data about the environment and the outside. Then our second idea was to develop an educational software that would show students a visual representation of their impact on the environment. And lastly, we came up with the idea that we decided we were most passionate about, augmented reality safety glasses, because we feel this has the largest impact in saving lives worldwide in industry. The three main functions of our goggles would be hazard identification by each individual worker, gas detection you can see visually, and ease of communication between workers and supervision.
Right here is a 3D model of what we think that the audibles could potentially look like, and below it is the worker's field of vision. So many industries, particularly chemical companies, already require their employees to wear impact-resistant safety glasses. So implementing the two functions of the augmented reality and the impact-resistant glasses would create an ease of transition for the workers to be able to use these as fast as possible.
So what we're about to show you is how our product would look in a real-world situation. So here we see a worker doing routine work, inspecting a machine in an environment which contains hazardous chemicals, namely in that black canister in the back there. So this unknown worker is just doing his routine, and then through the AR headset, which you're about to see first person, you see a warning of gas leak sector C, where he is located. So you see the invisible gas he notices in the right is in his imminent direction. He is provided with, denoted by the paper towels, an exit route, which is provided by the safety goggles through to safety. The communication aspect, which Robert was talking about earlier, then allows for a maintenance man who is properly equipped gas mask to repair the hardware malfunction. The communication allows the man to appear earlier than would be otherwise possible. As you can see by the circles, he's receiving communication, and by the communication from the control system, which once again Robert will talk about later, of instructions of how to repair the affected hardware. So as you can see, he fixes it safely. Okay.
So in case you didn't catch it from that really intense video, what each of the functionalities are, you can see in the top left corner, that's the notification that the worker would receive if there were to be a gas leak somewhere in the facility. Up there in the top right is showing that he is within the vicinity of a dangerous gas. We would also include potentially an identification of what gas that is. Here it's nitrogen. And then there could also be the implementation of showing the details of different units that are being used in the facility. And right below it, in case the paper towels wasn't enough, here's a better representation of the path that the worker would have to travel for the quickest, safest escape route.
So here we see a visualization of the gas, which is provided actually, this is on a CBS News article that was released in 2015. This is created by a new type of sensor which is under development called a hyperspectral video sensor, which uses instead of the traditional method, which is contact sensors. Contact sensors require that the sensor is enveloped in the material trying to sense it. So if you want to create an accurate cloud of, so to speak, visually, then you would need a lot of sensors. Well, with the spectral one, it uses light, and so it can be placed far away and has a field of vision which it can sense concentrations of gases. So this is a feasibility point where in the future it will be a lot cheaper to implement this sort of technology.
So at a refinery, it's imperative that the operators in the control room fully understand any situation that's happening in the field of the refinery, because they're in charge of all the major departments at the refinery, including the company's first response unit. So point of view video from personnel in the field will greatly help them understand any type of situation that's happening in the field, whether it be a fire or simply just maintenance that's being done. And so we see the fully integrated refinery as the next step with this technology, and that point of view video will increase the communication and improve it between the operators and the personnel in the field. And we see this being able to be used for training whereas new hires can potentially make mistakes in maintenance, and this could cost the company potentially tens of thousands of dollars and could be easily fixed if an operator could see what they were doing and give them inputs on how they should be doing it or what they're doing wrong. Another option for its use is incident management and where to deploy first response units. So if the operator can fully understand the extent of a catastrophic situation, they can predict what they want to do and what the proper response is depending on what the situation is and where they should deploy the first response units, if they should at all.
Our innovative technology, the safety audibles, can be implemented in the industry with ease, increase efficiency in the workplace, and cultivate a culture of safety while protecting any company's most important asset, its people. Thank you.
Okay, judges, you'll have 5 minutes for questions.
I'll start. Can you guys talk a little bit about the technology behind the stuff? I mean, what did you use? What was the headset? What was the...
So specifically the hardware that we use to develop.
Hardware, software, what was the technology you used to go prototype this?
We used the Meta 2 headset, and we developed the software on the Unity engine using the Meta SDK library. That makes, this might be gibberish to a lot of people in the audience, but if you know, okay. Yeah, and so is there anything specifically you'd like to know about?
Can you talk a little bit about what exactly did you guys do?
Well, actually, so this is obviously a very software-focused Aggies event thing, and I'm a computer engineer. I believe I'm the most computer-specified, but I guess I'll go ahead and take this one. So this was my first time using C#, but also the Unity SDK, Unity environment with the SDK, the Meta SDK. So a gentleman from Meta, Joseph, walked me through the basics of how you introduce, I believe they were game objects into your environment, your space, I believe. And so, so each object has a transform and origin, and you can. So that's how each object just starts off. It's just a point. So you can then implement code to make relations between points and move different points around, and you can see how it becomes very dynamic from there. On top of that, you can add components to these game objects, which start as just an origin once again. So you can add a shape, you can add an action, you can add all these. So it's very object oriented if you're familiar with this. So yeah, I mean, I was very impressed with the Unity environment, and the headset too. The headset was great. It's very new technology, so there are some. It crashed a couple times, but I was able to kind of nail down pretty quickly why. Yeah. Okay. Yes. I could go on all day. We'll go to the next question.
Have you guys thought about how you're going to ensure that the worker or the user actually attends to the emergency? So what if it's behind them? How are you going to draw their attention back to ensure that they see it in a timely manner?
So a lot of that could be when it's a fully integrated system. Like right now, the operators and the personnel in the field, they just communicate via radio frequencies. And so for the operators, it'll help them if they can have point of view of some specific worker for an incident that's curtailed to them, so they don't just have to communicate back and forth, and he can ask questions and he'll need to elaborate on it. He can just see exactly what they're seeing, and then he can get the information and give them advice. So if he knew because in the operations control room, they'll have information on everything. They'll know everything that's occurring. So a lot of the problems are getting that information out to someone in the field. So if he can get that in there and then tell them about the information via the walkie-talkie, and then it'll coincide with technology in the headset, so they can observe things as well.
And then a quick follow-on from that. The gases that you showed were invisible. What if you have gases that occlude the person's view of the scene they're in? What do you need to do with your augmented directions to get them out of that danger?
So, so assuming that this gas is both translucent and then also dangerous, they would need to be directed around it, right? And so, as you could see by the slide, we didn't really, the paper towels, not the paper towels, the slide with the arrows, we have some sort of thing that is overlaid over whatever they're seeing. So I can, in the AR, I can make a sphere appear in front of all these people. I would be able to see slightly through the sphere, but the sphere would cover them. And so in this situation, let's say there's just a very brief period which they would have to walk through it, but they couldn't see through it. Well, I could have a path go over, like through it, and I would from my perspective, I would be able to see that, okay, this is where it wants me to go. And assuming the technology is sound, that would be a safe option.
And I guess another big part of it is that a lot of the problems with gas asphyxiation is that there's a lapse of communication that someone in operations will know, and a lot of times maintenance personnel going to maintain like a reactor or something like that, they'll be purging it with nitrogen and they won't be aware of it, but people in operations will, and they'll go into an environment where they're completely surrounded by gas and they weren't aware of the danger of going into that environment. They just didn't know. And that can be prevented easily by improving the communication throughout the
This
field
creates
or
the
refinery.
fastest relay time as possible.
Cool.
Both audibly and visually. Some people visual learners.
I do.
You have time for one more
So my question is it was great to hear about getting the communication channels open between the front line and those managing in the back. And did you think a little bit about maybe how to get more information in and how to maybe leverage that data so most safety issues can be prevented versus reacted to?
So a way you can think about, which I don't think came across as clearly as I'd like in our presentation, is the sensors that we kind of discussed, the infrastructure. A lot of these industrial environments do have an infrastructure of sensors for safety reasons. So if we can take that data and we can kind of create a map of the different hazards throughout this facility. And so that's what the control room people are going to have, this map. You can even visually have a map, literally, with a circle of, oh, this is bad. And so they can have a map and they can relay that information while receiving live feed from workers. So if a worker is in a hazard zone and he can see it, and that situation is developing, well then there's kind of a two-way communication. They can say, okay, well, the next room there's a fire and you got gas there. Well, you're in a lot of trouble, and the guy can say, okay, well, the gas is receding and the fire is growing. And so they can kind of communicate. There's a two-way channel. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
It does, and thank you very much, Safety Ogles. You're done. The next team is phantom therapy.
Just a second to finish.
Working? Oh, you did?
Ready? Still no, don't worry.
Doesn't matter, but I can do it on paper.
Okay. All right. All right, please take it away. Yeah, we're ready.
How many of you have been injured? How many of you have gone to physical therapy? How many of you have neglected your physical therapy? Great, this is for you.
Rehabilitation in clinics, hospitals, nursing homes, and at home at doing post-hospital plans, in most cases, provide unengaging experience and do very little to ease the patient's pain. With an increase in population age and an increase in insurance providing essential needs due to higher enrollment rates, demand for physical therapy will strengthen. Phantom therapy is a platform that will gamify rehabilitation programs using virtual reality. Engaging the user will reduce rehabilitation time and would not always require a therapist present, thus cutting down costs. 360 cameras would allow the user to record their favorite environments and create their custom VR experience. For a patient that is motion limited, being able to feel in their happy place can mean a great deal to face demanding rehabilitation exercises and thus helping to ease pain. Using inertial sensors for patients relearning basic motor functions, one can collect data on their current movements, and the platform can report that data to the physicians, calibrate the virtual reality guided experience to improve their motion through gaming, and translate the progress data as a form of improvement achievement to the end user. All of the technologies presented already exist and have been proven to work individually, but there isn't a platform unifying all of them. Phantom therapy, gamifying the rehabilitation process.
I'm Ruben, and I have personally been in a physical therapy process. I was in a situation where my tendons were cut, and they were mismatched when attached back. So I had to relearn how to move my hand, and I also had to relearn how to control the correct finger. I hated rehabilitation as a kid. I would do anything to avoid having to go to rehabilitation because it was painful, it was boring. It was a painful experience that with a better solution, with a solution like the one that we will present you, could have made it a lot more enjoyable, and it could have increased my rehabilitation process. This is our team, and we're here to present you with a solution to this problem.
So I'm Arnav Kumar Mondal, and I'm a first-year graduate student in electrical engineering.
I'm Tommy Boo, Agricultural Communications and Journalism.
I'm Akshay Hasigar, I'm grad student computer engineering.
I'm Quan Lee, mechanical engineering department.
I'm Nicholas Herkel, I'm electrical engineering senior, and I work with VR therapy here at the school.
And Ruben again, and I'm a senior electrical engineer.
So the problem is physical therapy and the demand for it keeps increasing because people always get injured. However, current conventional physical therapy methods are inefficient. With this leads to patients not fully recovering, and medical facilities lose their profits. Because physical therapy is not engaging and their accessibility is really difficult, this is where we come in.
So based on the need statement, we have found out 5 requirements for the designing, and those are that the device should be very user-friendly. It should be affordable to the user because physical therapy process is a very expensive process. And accurate calibration is paramount as it involves adequate patient safety, and therefore we must make our device to be as accurate as possible. We all know that physical therapy is very boring and is tedious as well. So we must ensure that to provide a very interactive environment so that the user does not feel the burden of time as well, on his shoulders. And last but not the least, we are planning to expand the platform that it is just not limited to only disabilities with the feet, but also with the other body parts as well. So some of the ideas that we came across were a prosthetics showcase and games for children, a virtual walking coach in an engaging virtual reality environment, where we use VR sensors and devices to produce an immersive environment for the patient. And last but not the least, we have a haptic feedback training.
We decided to go with the second idea, which is a virtual therapy gaming platform, and this focuses on walking disabilities, which would require the use of a treadmill, and we would utilize gaming aspects such as scoring, achievements, and even multiplayer to keep them engaged. And due to the advance of 360-degree camera technology, we can put our patients in a much more immersive environment, such as like a hiking trip, to keep them much more engaged. Here you can see our demo where we have a 360-degree camera environment, and we can score their gait, as you can see by the color steps, using the motion sensors.
Each year, more than 50% of Americans develop some kind of injury that requires rehabilitation since for medical clinics for this is $250,000 when a patient doesn't complete their entire program. And only 30% do, which means 70% of them aren't finishing their entire program, which means we need to find a better way to implement our programs. Where we're going to be targeting are first are the rehab centers. There are thousands across America. We'll then target nursing homes, outpatient care centers, home health care centers, and then private practitioners. But keep in mind that people get injured every day. 500,000 people survive stroke, but their mobility is impaired. Then factor in all those athletes that get injured through the sports, and then senior citizens. So the demand for physical therapy is always imminent.
Right now we are focusing on regaining the gait of the patient, and in future we would like to add more features to our product, including other injuries as ankle, knee, back, and also add the latest exercises scientifically proven so that they could do it with our solution. And one more thing is we would like to add machine learning to our solution so that we could minimize the actual involvement of the physical therapist, so that our solution could gauge how well the patient is performing and not just keep a fixed set of exercises, so the exercises would adapt based on how good he is actually exercising, so that if one day he is not done very well, exercises could repeat the next day, or if it's done perfectly, then it could change the other day depending on how he is doing, so that it reduces the patient actually go to the clinic, so he should sit in his home or his her place and then do the exercises without having any other habits.
So other company are trying to solve the same problem with like us trying to do, and here's our difference. First, we have the feedback system, so the sensor can send data to the cloud, and the therapist can look at the data and provide the feedback to the patient. Second, we have 360 camera to create like a immersive environment, so it keeps the patient focused on the environment and forget the outside, so they can focus on their training. For the competitive patient, we can create like a multiplayer environment so they can compete with other patients, see how they recover faster. And we also have the milestone to encourage people to practice more.
So, in order to ensure that our program is fully comprehensive and foolproof, we're asking for experts in VR, computer science, physical therapy, and microcontrollers. So, if you hate conventional physical therapy, join us here at Phantom Therapy, gamifying rehabilitation. Thank you.
Question. How do you measure success?
So using our sensors, we track the gait, and currently we just have a green, yellow, red standard of whether they perform well, but the therapist would see much more than that. We can also see how far they traveled and how many steps they took and how long they spent doing that.
And how do you measure success for this versus traditional physical therapy methods, right? We've said that they're not effective, and so we are assuming that this is going to enable people to complete their therapy regimens. Is that what you're comparing? What percentage of people completed before versus now?
If we find that it's only like, if they only spend an hour on it and then they don't keep up with it every week, we understand that it's not working. But if we understand that they've put hours and hours into doing this because they love the game and it actually increases their ability to move, and that's where the milestone achievements come in, where like, oh, you've, how fast you've decided to continue this program, you've done 50% of you've recovered 50% faster than if you didn't. And that's how we measure them.
We have sort of two aspects to that question. We have the measuring. We will need to process the data, and we're aiming to have a system that allows to track the current gait and then track it over a period of time and show the improvement based on a model that it compares it to, which is the correct or like the proper gait that the person is striving for. Success is also in, we're not only trying to, so that's one aspect. The second one will be the fact that we're trying to make more efficient, I don't know, in the video we showed the Affordable Care Act, and there is an issue where clinics are cramming appointments because of high demand for physical therapy. So they they're in need of a faster way of doing the therapy. So the therapy session. So if you can have somebody, if you can have 10 patients in a VR with one therapist supervising all of them, it will be a more efficient way of having them engage with the activity. And we have also read research that shows that the more engaging they are in the VR, the faster they go through a session. So instead of 40-minute sessions, the patient in a VR environment, a static VR environment to their particular disability would give them a shorter session, let's say 20 minutes compared to the initial 40 minutes with an actual person.
In short, the coaches still are still able to analyze the data.
One quick question.
Yes.
You had mentioned that it was a pairing of both the VRP plus a treadmill, I believe, to be able to process through this, but then you did mention being at home and not having to have those things. So
it's
how
for
would
a
that
later
function?
stage actually. Initially, if the damage is too severe, then a patient has to go to the physical therapy center. So there we have put in the treadmills in place, replacing the physical therapist, because then it will be easier for them to monitor and it would give them that immersive environment. Later, at a particular stage, when they are able to walk properly, we can set up an environment for them in the home itself, and so that they don't have to go to the rehab center again.
And that covers any injury that's not just besides walking and that requires other equipment.
Suppose you have an arm injury, you can do it at home itself.
Have you considered how the weight of the headset alone will impact the user's gait?
We have not, honestly, but I mean, we have ways of just having a cardboard box with an Android app and use your phone as your VR, and those they don't have as much weight as perhaps a headset itself.
So besides that, our closest competitor is VR Health, and their mission is the same with ours. They've already had a lot of effective testimonials. However, they're not focusing on the training aspect and with pairing with gaming. They're only having fun demos right now. So it is proven that they haven't had much complaint with the weight of the headset.
But they haven't done any formal studies.
Though haven't done anything on the gaming aspect, which we intend to do it for.
And the research that we've seen on actual gait, there is already university research on gait and virtual reality. All of them have used the headset, and we have not seen mentions of the headset affecting them in any way.
Okay, so it's kind of known that often our depth perception is different in a virtual environment than in the real world. Did you take that into consideration?
Yes, it will require calibration because we consider that the tempo, sometimes you're moving a lot faster within the environment in VR than in real life. And so when you come off of VR, you might feel like you can walk a lot more in shorter distance, and your rhythm changes, and you have to adapt. So we would need, obviously, studies to calibrate depending on the person and the type of disability that they have.
That was one of our design requirements to ensure the safety.
Okay, I'm sorry, I've got to stop, and we're going to move on to the next presentation. Thank you very much. Next team is Team APU. We can catch up at the break if you want. If you want.
That's fine. I have it on paper. So.
We are A-coupe. We are a virtual reality platform that enables customers and users and dealerships to simulate and customize their cars while reducing the price and being able to do this within the house. We can do this via VR, and that's what we're trying to aim to do. Sorry. We think that buying a car shouldn't be too difficult. We have just so much paperwork. You have to go to the dealership, and we feel as though that is not like viable for what we want to do. So we decided to create VR.
The car buying experience hasn't changed in the past 40 years. More than 50% of car shoppers feel anxious or uncomfortable at car dealerships. (72% would visit dealerships more often if the buying process was improved. This is what we are here to do. At A-coupe, we have prototyped a virtual world to augment customer experience in purchasing a vehicle. From customization in vehicle color, performance reveal, and modifying the vehicle's interior, A-coupe's showroom allows customers to build their dream car without ever leaving the comfort of their home. Our platform even allows for previewing what the vehicles would look like in different environments. Sign, and the vehicle comes to you.
We are a team redefining the car browsing process. Something that sets us aside from other teams, other design teams, is our ability to stretch beyond the basic needs and create a platform that users enjoy to use. And during our process and during our design process, we came up with a variety of aspects that we thought were essential to designing our end product. Some of these aspects include we would like consumers to enter our platform, see the vehicle, all angles of it, all sides of it, customize it, and then view it in a environment, varying environments, so that they can understand both the aesthetic appeal and the environmental effects upon the vehicle itself, including light, sound, glare. In addition to all of this, we want potential buyers to interact with a remote dealer that will help the buyers understand the vehicle specifications that will also be allowed in our program and be able to be viewed in our program. During our process, we considered multiple designs, and in the end, we decided upon a virtual reality headset, an immersion headset that you could have at home and experience this entire process at home to maximize the sensory capabilities and as well as cater to the consumers. But how is any of this important? Why is it significant? We believe it is significant because there are multiple problems with the current car buying industry. The time spent at the dealerships is too long. There's piles of paperwork and frustrations that come along with interacting with salesmen are just too high. We think that we have the cure to all of these ailments. Kamal will expand into all of the rest of it.
Car shoppers waste a lot of time researching cars online. A survey conducted showed the average buyer spends 8 weeks researching a car before going to the dealership and buying it. The majority of this time is spent researching prices, finding actual cars listed for sale near them, comparing different models, researching the value of the car, and finding a local dealer. A-coupe combines all of these tedious steps into a simple, efficient platform that provides substantial benefits, not only to the consumer, but also to dealers. This is a clip from our application, showing parts of the interface that help address these issues. Consumers can view car data, specifications, prices, compare models, and view reviews from other buyers. All this and much more and an easy and simple interface. People are frustrated with car dealerships and the current system that we use. And this isn't just my opinion. Research shows that 92% of people research a car online before buying one, but only 21% are completely satisfied with their purchase. 87% of Americans dislike something about dealerships, and 81% feel there is some mistrust going on when buying a car online. I can give statistics all day, but the bottom line is that the status quo needs to change, and this is what A-coupe is here to do. I'm going to hand it off to Chris, who's going to talk about some of the core specifications and features of A-coupe.
So while in virtual reality, a user can change the seat height and view accurate blind spots. You can also see how the car is going to look in your driveway, your house. You can also see how much cargo can fit in the trunk. You can also select any portion of the car, fully customize it, and while doing any of all of this, friends and family can join you in the environment in real time. You can also have the option to have a live dealer from the dealership help you in the level with any problems you might have. If you decide you like a car, you can sign up for a test drive, and all the paperwork is done online.
So another exciting technology that is currently emerging is the use of AI and machine learning. So as let's see here. Sorry. All right. So as you can see here, you have the option to not only browse cars and change the configurations in the private of your own home by yourself, but you can also connect with either a remote salesman or an artificial intelligence salesman who is able to aid you along in the buying process and help you narrow down the car choices if you aren't exactly sure what you're looking for. And this is done in a very natural and intuitive way. Machine learning, on the other hand, uses a type of AI to deliver the data that consumers and dealers need in the fastest way possible. So it will be able to bring the market analysis statistics that will help the dealer side as well as the buyer side in delivering the best product possible. So a really interesting trend that we noticed is in the last 5 years, the number of people who lease cars has increased by 30%. Now almost 1/3 of Americans are opting to lease instead of buy. And this is really a great opportunity for us because our platform allows a revolutionary way to not only choose and buy your car, but also pay for it. So instead of going to a dealership and having to sit for an hour or two filling out paperwork and dealing with the numerous fees that go along with that, we can wrap up the entire payment process into an easily monthly payment plan, much like most of the multimedia streaming services are doing today. So that's great.
So one of the reasons we're really excited about our technology is that it's not limited to the automotive industry. And we have investment in extended reality growing significantly, and as it does, we expect the market reach of A-coupe showroom to grow exponentially as well. And we're already seeing prices of headsets declining, and soon products like Oculus Rift and HTC Vive will become affordable for more than just early adopters, and people will begin to adopt them into their homes. And so for this reason, we believe that we'll be able to extend our technology into other industries, including fashion, where people can tweak and configure outfits in 3D dressing rooms, to even engineering fields and construction, where companies can select and configure equipment that is best fit for their projects. Now I'll hand it back off to Waylon.
All right. Thank you. And wrong way. Well, thank you very much. We are A-coupe. We are the next, basically the best. Well, we're trying to be the best simulation of augmented or virtual reality simulation of our showroom, and we hope that this will be able to enable us to work in the future and work with investors to create our product for the showroom in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Judges, we have 5 minutes for questions.
Do you
you guys tell us a bit more about your customer? Is it are you going to the car dealerships today, the automotive makers? Is it your own platform?
So there are two different consumers or customers that we're looking at here. So we have both the consumer side of it and the dealership side of it. So a unique aspect of our product is the fact that the AI will interpret the user inputs and the different actions that the user does within the program, and they can use that information to give to dealerships so that dealerships can understand what users are actually looking for, what consumers need in the product, so then they can implement those inputs in future designs and commercialization possibilities. So it goes both for like the consumers, so that they can understand what they want in a car, and then also what car they want, so when they go to the dealership or when they buy their car or even online, and then it just comes to your house. So there's different options with that, and also for the dealership.
Right, just to add on to that, like 6 out of 10 Americans don't, when they're buying a car, they don't have anything in mind when they come into it. So with machine learning and like an advanced AI that keeps improving, we can mine a lot of data and use that to improve the AI, help the consumers, and also help dealerships market their products better.
So when it comes to actually locating the car that the person has actually customized and they say, all right, this is what I want, what are your data sources for how you're actually supplying that inventory when it comes to paperwork and location? And are you guys doing used cars or only new cars where you're only working with dealerships?
Yeah, so I can take that question. When we're looking at this, we're thinking mostly about new cars and working with a network of dealers that are already existing and have an already existing inventory, partnering with them to provide the benefits that were talked about earlier, and then using their inventory to put into our system or what products that they have access to in their potential inventory line. So it would be networked with existing products and existing dealers. So it would start out with a small group and then hopefully grow from there.
Okay. And what are your data sources for the customer reviews that you mentioned?
The customer reviews would be provided by users of the service already. So we would start out maybe some promotional offerings in order to incentivize reviews, and then hopefully grow from there as people experience the system. And much like Amazon, as more people use this, they would hopefully continue to see the benefits of these review systems.
Any other questions? Okay, great. Thank you very much, Timothy. The next team is VRX. Just a second. Okay, VRX.
Hi, my name is Ramirez. I'm an electronic systems engineering technology major, junior.
I'm Jonathan Gillum, computer science major, freshman.
I'm Ryan Aldering, a junior computer engineering major.
I'm Tony Chu, freshman in computer science.
I'm Victoria Hicks, junior chemical engineering.
Howdy, Benjamin Schrader, freshman in communications.
And we are VRX.
My back's just been hurting way too much lately. I can barely do anything. It's terrible.
Here's a pill.
I thought I was gonna be somebody and drugs ruined my life.
This opioid epidemic is carnage. It's American carnage. There are 33,000 deaths from opioids every year now.
I can't go anywhere. Even getting here was tough. Everything just takes me back to the war.
Here's a pill.
Attacks are still happening. You're still putting on your Kevlar and your gear, and you're running out to fighting positions. and you're still counting your troops to make sure they're alive. It's still real. So there is no, how do you feel? You know.
I've just been so stressed lately. I can't even think straight. It's just like, I can't even.
Here's a pill.
Heath Ledger, Michael Jackson and Whitney Houston all had traces of the anti-anxiety drug Xanax in their bodies when they died.
Ever since that car wreck, I've just been having chronic pain in my arm that broke. Is there anything you can do to help me out here?
Stop. There's a better way.
Just 48 hours ago, we decided to create an innovative solution to manage chronic pain. Our solution was so effective that we believe that it will revolutionize the way the world can manage pain and mental health by offering an alternative to prescription medication. Our solution had 5 requirements. Our first requirement was that our patient would be fully immersed in our VR with auditory and visual components. Our second requirement was that it would be mobile. It can be accessed anywhere. Third requirement was that we can reduce our patient's heart rate by 20% after administering the VR. We also wanted an 80% success rate when we administered this VR to our patient. We also wanted to, and finally, we wanted to do a 10% cost reduction as an alternative to prescription.
So to create our final environment, we went through 3 different designs to get there. Our first design, which we put the user in a dark blue environment to help relax them. And we gave them a green circle, which would fluctuate in and out to stimulate breathing, to allow them to lower the breathing and lower the heart rate. This design had some major problems as it wasn't immersive enough. Just the dark blue wasn't enough to keep them in it and concentrating on the environment instead of the stress they're having or the pain they're having. So we moved on to the second design, which put them on a bridge right above a valley, next to a forest. That way they could have a lot to look at, feel more immersed in it, and we decided to keep the circle of breathing and made them feel relaxed. Now, a problem with this design is some people are scared of heights, so that would lead to anxiety, which is the opposite effect we want. So we decided to go with our final third design. So we put the user in a park-like setting, around trees around them, tons of things to look at, nice path, and we decided to, once again, keep the circle from the first design, so they still have something to interact with.
So as you can see, we went with the green nature scene because this is scientifically proven to reduce both physiological and psychological harm in humans, just being in nature. As you can see, the circle in the middle is a light green shade right now. It changes between 2 different colors. It's a dark blue if you're not looking at it to draw your attention back to it. And if you're looking at it, it fades to a light green, and this induces a calming effect. As you can see in this picture, the circle is blue, and it's also bigger. So the circle pulses in and out to help the patient control their breathing. The circle pulses out, and the patient breathes in for 3 seconds, and then it goes back in for 3 seconds as the patient exhales. The circle goes through 2 pulses, and then it will change locations. The movement of the head keeps the user engaged with the VR environment. The audio that you hear is created with binaural beats. This induces alpha waves in your brain, which helps your serotonin production and thus reducing your stress.
So you've seen the design process and you've seen it on paper, but does it actually work? So the answer is yes, and we have amazing data to show for it. So currently we did an experiment run between 2 groups. We had a control group and we had a group using ARVR. We put the group through various exercises, and they went from an active heart rate to a resting heart rate. And then we measured how long it took for them to go between those 2 heart rates. So for trial number 1, we reduced their heart rate by 37 beats per minute. That happened over a span of 27 seconds. Now I know these are a lot of numbers, so if you're going to remember anything, remember the rate of reduction. We reduced their heart rate 1.33 beats for every second. Now hold on a second. This is amazing. because in our trial number 1 for VRS, they reduced their heart rate by 28 beats per minute over the span of 7 seconds. 7 seconds compared to 27 seconds. That has a rate of reduction of 4.00. Same thing with trial 2, we had a rate of reduction of 2.76. So our product is 3 to 4 times more effective than conventional methods today. So in a couple of seconds, you're about to see me in a video basically going through trial number 2. And you're gonna see my heart rate drop from 114 to 78 beats per minute in the span of around 13 seconds. So currently I want you to focus on the bottom right corner of the screen. The bigger number is the oxygen levels in my blood. The smaller level is the beats per minute. Currently I'm at 105, and you're about to see it drop. Right now it's at 87, 82, and finally we hit 75. This is amazing stuff.
So you've shown you that you can make a product that really works and that really does what we tell you to do. But the real question is there a market for this product? What if I told you that America spent $600 billion on pain treatments last year? The average cost for an opioid prescription is about $250 per patient per month. Most of this cost gets pawned off on the insurance companies. Now we figure that we can sell this product for about $300 base cost plus about $50 subscription fee per month. That means that in 2 months, this product has paid for itself. And every month after that, insurance companies are saving 80% every single month. We told you at the beginning that our goal was to reduce costs by 10%. We have annihilated that goal.
Now, judges, it is very clear, you can see that we have comprehensive coverage of this market. Now, I want to ask you, what does the future hold? Expanding to emergency and trauma response. Let's say you're getting people on that ambulance. Person, guy's a mess. He's going into shock. You get this on him, you bring him down. You pull him back from PTSD right away. End of life care. I am very passionate about this because in my own family, opiates and morphine did not allow me to say goodbye to people in my family. And I want them to be able to have a headset like this so that I can communicate with them so that they are able to be free from these horrible, horrible drugs. And physical therapy. People that have lost arms, people that have lost legs, I want them to be able to regain feeling. I want them to be able to regain that limb in a virtual space. Judges, I want to thank you so much for your time. Any questions?
Judges, we got 5 minutes for questions.
I have one. When you were doing your trial results, did you do your trial with anybody who has PTSD or is having an anxiety attack or is in some of the scenarios that we've talked about trying to solve for?
Yes, we did. One of my closest friends actually suffers from chronic anxiety, so I checked this product out with her. We did that. I also spoke to a veteran who was a good friend of mine about the product and if he thought it would help him. And he said, most certainly.
I have a question. When you look at your competitive set, the idea you have makes a lot of sense, but there's a lot of companies already doing this, right? And so what is different about your implementation versus what already exists out there? There are many companies doing PTSD in VR, have been doing that for decades. There are companies that are doing anxiety control and physical therapy and all of that in VR. What's different about what you guys are suggesting here?
So our application focuses on the meditation aspect, which covers a lot broader base than targeting any one specific issue. And so using the meditation aspect and all of the psychological effects the positive psychological effects on a person allows our application to be implemented in many different areas. Whereas, it takes a specific type of VR environment that might be tailored specifically toward an issue. Ours can help with many different issues, or even some that might not be diagnosed.
Quick question. You had mentioned one of your key metrics. Your key metrics missed having anything about pain management. So I'm curious if that's something to consider down the path. Obviously, the anxiety, the depression, those types of things can be addressed through meditation, but I didn't see any background about pain management and how that might be addressed.
So the pain management is included in that. There's a lot of research on how virtual reality, it's more for the pain specifically, it's more of a distraction than an actual something that fixes the pain. Is a psychological issue. And so there was one study that we saw that we used a lot of facts from, and they had patients who, without VR, rated their maximum pain as a 10 out of 10, and then when they had the VR experience, the maximum pain they rated was a 6.5.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, VRX. Our next team is Shovel. Give our judges just a second to judge. Okay, Team Shovel, thank you.
Howdy, my name is Ayaz Abdullah. I'm a computer engineering major. Howdy, my name is Mike Choi. I'm a computer engineering major.
My name is Moon Momin, and I'm a third-year computer science major.
So quick show of hands, how many of you have planned on or thought about or actually have built like a swimming pool or a sprinkler system or a large tree or any sort of thing in your backyard? Cool. And of those people, how many of you have heard of Call 811? Very few. So for those of you that haven't heard about it, what it is basically, it's a service that can mark what areas you can and can't dig, for example, in your backyard. So let's say you were to build a swimming pool or a sprinkler system or large tree like I mentioned before. What you would do is you would send them a request, and they would come to your place and they would mark off what areas you can't, whether it be with flags or with white lining or things like that. So the problem with this service is that it takes 5 to 10 days for them to actually come out, not to mention the transportation and labor costs associated. So my inquisitive self actually wanted to test it out. So yesterday, while we were working on this project, I sent out a request to see how long it would take them. And they said they couldn't even report to me until the 23rd, which is 5 days from now, or 5 days from yesterday, sorry. So, given that, given my experience and the information I've told you, how many of you would hate to have to go through all that hassle? So, with that, I invite you to take an inside look into our solution, Shovel.
Let's take a look at a scenario real quick. Or call before you dig to get someone to come to her house and survey the yard for her. This process typically takes 5 to 10 days, as we said, until a contractor actually comes to your house and charges Jill $460 just for the one look at her yard. And that's very bad. So we introduced Shovel, our groundbreaking AR solution to this problem. So, in thinking about the correct solution and providing Jill with a better experience, we came up with some design requirements that we wanted to meet. So, we want to give Jill instant access to her information. She shouldn't have to wait 5 to 10 days just to get a response of when the contractors would come and survey her land. And we want Jill to be able to identify specific pipes that are under her house and be able to contact the operators and see more information about the pipes. We're going to do this by getting existing pipeline data from NPMS, and we're going to pair it with GPS location of the user and place it in an augmented reality world. And this will ultimately, we want to reduce the cost of surveying land and the time it takes. And so from the get-go, we knew that the design had to be either AR or VR. And so we took a look at some of the existing traditional solutions to these kind of problems. And the first was a standalone headset.
And we know that it's kind of bulky, it's expensive, not everyone has access to these headsets. And so the second solution we came up with was Apple's AR kit. And this would enable us to build a solution or an application where we can deploy to the App Store and people can download it from the App Store immediately and start using it right away.
So here's a video demo of the app that we made just in the past 48 hours. So here we have Shovel installed on our iPad. We open it, and this is the EIC. It scans the ground, looks for a plane. It's hard to see, but they're yellow dots updating in real time. You click on a spot, digs the hole for you, shows you what pipes are right there. So here, you can click on a pipe, shows you more information about the pipe, the company, you can call the number, what type of pipe it is. You can move around, you get distracted, you come back, and the pipe is still there. It's like digging a hole without actually digging a hole. And you can see what pipes there are. And it's just, again, the information that you can see about the pipe. And it's also like it stays in the same spot.
And here's another use case of the app. This is just right outside of the EIC. And here we detect the plane again in the ground. And once it does, it digs another hole for you. And here you can see two pipes, and one going straight to the existing water hydrant right there in the ground. And so we can see from this that the GPS data and the placement of the virtual hole is very, very accurate. And because we have two pipes, you can select which pipe you want to look at. And once you select it, you can press the information button right there. And once it freezes, you can look at what type of the pipe it is, how deep it is, who's providing the operations to the pipe, and actually call the company if you want to ask some questions about it. And again, this is outside. With the shades and everything, it still has perfect tracking and location of the hole. So, in case you're still questioning whether this app is at all feasible, usability, we can already prove we're using it with Apple iPads and iPhones, so it's really easy to use. Almost a large amount of the population has iPhones and iPads really easily accessible, and plus it'd be something easily accessible for companies. Another thing that's really good is that you can get instantaneous fast access to it. As for complexity, we were able to build a good working demo in the first 48 hours, meaning that although our demo isn't perfect, obviously, it wouldn't be too difficult to add on and to get extra features to make it even better in the future. For technically sound purposes, it would be really beneficial if we can work with you guys, the companies, to be able to get access to better data, to make sure that our results are as accurate as they can possibly be, and along with the augmented reality improving with time. That'll help tremendously with making sure that the app is as good as possible. And so what do we have to do at this point to make this app a product that we can sell or market in the App Store? Well, as Ayaz just said, we have to partner with pipeline operators to actually gain real data of where the pipes are, because we don't want to sell them fake data. And so that's one. And yeah, so going along with that, like he said, we'll need your help, especially with communicating with other networks, like if we plan to expand the app to look into other industries, for example, oil, gas pipelines, things like that, and so if you need to do any sort of drilling, things like that. So we would rely on your business connections and expertise as to how to go and approach those topics.
So given the 48 hours here, we built a working proof of concept, but we believe there's a lot of potential for this. So we would want to improve the user interaction, user experience of this app, and we would build in more features. So for example, if Jill wanted to build a sprinkler system in her front lawn, she would just take a picture of her front lawn, and given our pipeline data that we have, it would place boundaries around where she should dig with the AR app. And we also want to support multi-platform, so like other platforms like Android. Right now we're using ARKit. Android has a similar API that we can use and extend to other devices as well, so that would capture almost everybody. So our final question to you is, can you dig it?
Thank you.
And judges, you have 5 minutes for questions. How did you come up with the idea? It's a very novel idea.
Yeah, so it was actually a needs statement provided by Accenture, and they wanted a solution where you could better access to pipeline data.
And we actually looked at some existing ARKit made apps on the internet, and a concept of portal was an existing idea, but it usually was kind of horizontal. We just placed it vertically and dug a virtual portal or a hole to the ground, so you can see through the ground as a portal underground. And along with that, there's also some companies, I believe one of them was referenced in Chicago, that they would actually be able to take pictures of pipelines and they would be able to or implement that data in a way that you could see it as a map. But we were thinking, rather than just seeing it as a map, why can't you actually see it underground live? So we wanted to try to implement that the best way we could.
And just, sorry.
I was gonna say, did you also consider other utilities, so AT&T, cable, electricity, things like that? So
for sure. So that's one of the things that we need your help with. We want to partner with you guys to build their contacts in other companies and get data from them. So everything that's underground that could come in your way when you're digging a hole, we want all that information in our app and just make it super easy for Jill and all the other users who want to do a digging project, so they can just open up the app, see the information, and take action right away.
Yeah, so what we're using, as what we've been looking at right now, we're using the National Public Mapping System, or Pipeline Mapping System, NPMS, which is provided by the government. They do provide a good few utilities like gas, sewer, waste, things like that. But we, like you said, we would need your help to implement some of those things like electricity, water, please.
How easy would it be for you to incorporate extra layers of rules, such as, easements behind fences, or maybe there's some homeowners association where you can only build a certain size pool, or your sprinkler system needs to be a certain distance from the sidewalk?
Yeah.
How are you going to build in those kind of constraints?
So, because that would be a lot of data to show on a single screen, right? And so the ideal way would be layers and filters you can choose from the sidebar, let's say. And we had a pop-over view of the information screen, as you saw. We can implement the same filterization option with the pop-over view of the screen.
And we were actually going to do that, but we didn't have enough time, so we were planning where you have filters at the top to filter out like a water pipe or a sewage pipe.
And just one other thing to maybe think as an add-on question to that, as I'm in the process of trying to build a home, is what do you do once you have identified those spaces? Unfortunately, there's a lot of regulations around what you can and can't do. So perhaps in addition to just a contact, maybe how do you initiate a permit process, things like that. So another layer to
Yeah, definitely.
Just informing the user is our priority.
Yeah, and so like we talked about with like some of our future plans, we would recommend, we would start having to do like sort of recommendations, like maybe what areas to dig and what you can't. So along with that, we can also provide suggestions of how to go about that. Like for example, you could specify what type of thing you're providing, and then you can say, okay, you need to contact these sorts of people. Like for example, we already have utility company, like we provide their email and their phone number at least, so that you can contact them if you need some sort of help.
Yeah, interesting. You could also build in pricing for things like, I have, $250,000, how big of a house can I actually build on this space, or how big can my pool be, or those kind of things.
Yeah, so we were also, another thing that we were just thinking about is partnering on with like people who can actually dig for you if it's a big project, and that's one way to bring in revenue is, sponsoring like people who can dig.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a very short break. I'm going to ask you to be back here at 4:25, and we will get going again. That's about 10 minutes. Thank you very much.
how I take the picture.
All right, we live, good. Welcome back. We're back from our break. We are going to hear from the next 5 teams. This is ARCH.
Howdy, my name is Allison Corner, and I am a Senior Management Information Systems major.
Howdy, my name is Morgan Bouguier. I'm a graduate student in civil engineering.
Hello, my name is David Miller, and I'm just a freshman engineer.
Hi, my name is Patrick Sandoval. I am a sophomore mechanical engineering major.
Howdy, my name is Max Lopez. I am a freshman mechanical engineer.
And we are Team A-architecture. So we have found, over this last weekend, an innovative way to enhance collaboration as well as error detection within the construction and architecture industry.
We live in a world that is constantly changing. And as it changes, the need to stay one step ahead becomes more and more indispensable. The future of architecture and construction is now in high demand. So when you think of architecture, think of A-architecture.
It was the biggest high school stadium Texas had ever seen for a single school. The $60 million voter-approved price tag didn't seem to matter. But there's a big problem. Cracks like these along the concourse. Considered unsafe for use, the stadium is now closed until repairs can be made. The stadium was called a big waste of money.
Now I want you to imagine the ability to see what isn't there and precisely detect errors in construction in the early stages. With our AR glasses, A-architecture is committed to enhance collaboration. Performance and efficiency is what pushes us towards excellence. We are the Google Doc of construction, where construction meets collaboration.
The bonfire is getting lit now. You're going to see flash bulbs going off all over the room.
So the trick is to balance the load, but if you don't, then you put the pole into stress.
The way that we want you to understand throughout this whole presentation is that after doing all of this research, after spending so much time, we think that while VR may be the future of design and modeling, we believe that AR would be the future of construction and project management.
You've all seen several projects so far with AR and VR, and I'm pretty sure you are all thinking, what about architecture? And I hope that at the end of this presentation, architecture is the answer.
Okay. So, when we were tackling our needs statement, we looked at 5 essential requirements. The first one is we wanted to immerse the user into an AR reality. The second, we wanted to create this product that we can commercially adapt it into an already set product, like we said, VR. And then the third one is we want to make this easily adoptable and implement it. And then the fourth one is we were set on solving a real life issue. And finally, we want to enhance the goodwill of a company.
So with that, we flushed out all of our brainstorm designs. We got to building prototypes, and we understood what our needs statement had meant. Based on that, we created a decision matrix that modeled all of our base designs, all of the designs that we felt were the best in our situation. We took our first design as our best, which was AR tracking in a construction environment, looking at all of the requirements that we had set for each concept. We decided that this was the best one for our choices. In comparison to the other ones, our first design below that would be modeling for VR homes. This was a very sought after idea for the first few hours that we were designing. After research, we looked at other companies that have already began using this. So we decided to move away from that. The next decision was the AR advertising in real estate. We didn't want to looking at laws, at how this real estate would be advertised was very unclear at first. We did a lot of research. We couldn't find much. We wanted to move away from that. We decided that our first decision was the most feasible in all aspects of our decision-making. And coming out of that, understanding what our solution design was fit to be, we wanted to complete these 3 tasks. We wanted to make sure that it was successful in these 3 categories.
So, what's the current situation in construction management? The site foreman has to inspect on site, mainly focuses on QA/QC issues and HSE issues, which is safety mainly. Then he has to report to the project manager. So it's a long-lasting process, and you sometimes need to get site meetings with experts. With our AR collaborative tool, we would like to bypass that report process. Directly, you could live stream with experts. You could earlier detect the errors thanks to that targeting systems, and also you would also see track the progress.
So here's an example of our AR glasses. If a user puts the glasses on, they can see that on the wall between the 2 segments that are completed, there's another segment to be completed. With the glasses, they have a menu where they can look for that wall, where in the supply chain the materials are, how much they've spent on those materials, and how much of that wall has been created already. So we've created a virtual model for you. The green part is what has been created and what you'd be looking at physically. And the white segment represents the augmented reality. We used a virtual reality to show you this because it's way too big to show you a zoomed out version of a construction project, and we didn't have a helicopter to do that. So, then we also have a feature of error detection within your construction. So I'd like you to look at this model for a second. Between the 3 pillars on this model, can you tell the difference in size in which segment is placed incorrectly? If you put on your augmented reality glasses, they will easily show you where exactly each piece should be. So you would be able to see a segment here that shows you that this piece is placed incorrectly, allowing for errors that would have otherwise slipped by to be detected. We also analyze our competitive advantages. We are helping to avoid delays as well as increase performance by figuring out what the errors are and where they are, and even preventing them before they happen, as well as allowing for the person wearing the AR goggles to live stream with experts at a different location so we can get an immediate solution to the problem we're having from experts without them having to come on site. And in the end, fixing these problems immediately will enhance safety so that we might be able to prevent future events such as the uneven stacking of bonfire by visually seeing the problem and hopefully saving people as well.
With that in mind, we took a little bit of time to analyze the business sector of what our product could be. After discussing with construction experts within the last 48 hours, we marked up what notes were the most remarkable out of anything in the construction industry right now related to architecture. Most of the sales aspect, and we saw that during sales it would be more beneficial to sell this as a base package that includes a maintenance and a basic training component. This would all just be standard protocol, if software updates come out, if there's other abilities through our AR set that need to be taught, and just to make sure that everything by the company is easily applicable. And into that, we looked at many other future additives that we plan to place into our AR headset. In the span of 48 hours was not enough to include all of this, but we thought that there were so many more possibilities. The main points that we wanted to add on were the analysis of safety hazards and health. On the actual construction side, we want to be able to show that in cases where you're in a room, you would expect to see certain safety protocols being followed, as well as additives to piping, electrical, and HVAC, just so that everyone is aware that of different components that actually make up the construction.
So we'd like to invite you to join us in making sure that our building of the continuous world that we are creating is safe and collaborative. Thank you.
And judges, you have 5 minutes for questions.
So in addition to identifying errors, will your system also include information on the impact of that error, whether it's just an aesthetic error or if it actually will impact the building, and also the cost of rectifying that error?
So absolutely along those lines, we can look into the future and using machine learning to analyze that. But the key feature for us at the moment is allowing for that immediate contact with experts who are off-site so they can see what you're seeing in your virtual reality or in your AR goggles, and they can see exactly that and analyze that and give you a very quick response to prevent any immediate danger and solve the solution even faster than writing up a report and going to talking to them and bringing them on site.
And a quick follow-up, so if there's if the building is being built in a piecemeal kind of a fashion, how do errors propagate through, and do you keep track of that?
We currently haven't looked at that type of method for building. We were looking more into very, very basic elementary steps to identify where something should be versus where it shouldn't. We wanted to be more applicable to any type of construction, so we thought that was the best model to use.
Yeah, since the goggles show you what's missing, then if you are building it, piece after piece, then you can still see what should be where when it's finished, because we should be able to access the blueprints of the final build.
Yeah, because the goggles got like a 5D model of the structure made on Revit, on that kind of software. So you got your 3D model, the time and the cost related, which is included in the schedule of the project management.
Did you think about post-building, what could be done with the data and how you could monetize, the good information that you collect during the building process?
Well, we were thinking about using the data that we can acquire from all the projects. We can actually improve the algorithms to detect the errors for the future, and even predict what that error that can be found using the goggles, what it can lead to if it's not fixed in a proper time.
What about maintenance?
That would be another sector that we would look at. Again, our main purpose behind this solution was at least making a start to a very collaborative environment where you can monitor several different aspects of what it means to build something. Our first designs were related to dimensionality and how things spaced out. Later that would be something else that we could go into. That's maybe the safety and health hazards section that we would develop.
When it comes to maintenance, that would probably be just an software update, which can be possibly in the future, released as an extension pack.
I really like the financial element of this, to be able to visualize beyond just physical object there, and especially around collaboration, saying, all right guys, this delay is going to cost us this. Have you thought from an information management standpoint, how you're going to get that data together? And does that association exist today that you'd be able to do that?
So we, so we are expecting for them to send to us a connection to their supply chain system within the company. So we are going to be hooking up our system to be reading from that, and expecting also for their supply chain department to be sending us a time frame, as well as getting a time frame from project management and tying all of that together into our system.
Yeah, that's just changing the way we do the reports, but at the end it's just reports. Just easier, quicker.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. The next team is Team Immersion.
judges a second. Okay. Okay, everybody ready? Okay, full immersion.
Hi, my name is Cody Piercy, a junior industrial distribution major.
Hi, I'm Vinod. I'm a master's in information systems.
Howdy, I'm Anthony Warfully. I'm a senior aerospace engineering major.
Howdy, I'm Justin McGinnity, junior mechanical engineering major. We're team full immersion, showcasing a dealership of tomorrow.
Time to go fishing. If you love your wife, if you love your daughter, what's her name, Sally? Good, I'm guessing it's Sally.
No.
You're going to want to overtake quickly. 2 grand.
300.
500.
400.
700. £1,000.
The current car dealership experience takes hours of your time and is costly in both time and money. But what about the other side of the story? Car dealerships have large inventories of depreciating assets which they must insure against natural disaster. How can we decrease the amount of cars a dealer must have in stock while also improving the customer experience?
Image that we have seen over and over in the Houston area, cars and trucks that are completely flooded.
At one dealership in Highland Park, rising waters destroyed more than 100 cars, worth millions of dollars.
How can we decrease the physical and environmental footprint of car dealerships? We at Full Immersion are dedicated to solving this problem.
Spend their entire Saturday at a dealership talking to a pesky salesman and negotiating the price all day. It's a waste of the customer's time and money. It's also a waste of the dealer's money. Dealers invest millions in their stock and the cost associated with that stock.
So what is Full Immersion's mission? Our vision is for a customer to walk into a dealership and instead of waiting on a salesman, having to schedule a test drive ahead of time, they can walk in, immediately put on a VR headset, and go into virtual reality and customize their car. This will give them a social experience, and it will directly connect them to what they're designing. Now, dealers are to adopt this technology, they will be able to massively decrease their footprint. Today's dealers have 5, 10, maybe 15 acres of land, and they have hundreds of cars in the lot. If they adopt our model, they can reduce that size greatly. We're thinking of a mall location here that would be maybe 6,000 square feet maximum with very few cars actually in stock. Maybe 1 or 2 of each model for test driving purposes. Next, we have to think about the customer. We're trying to improve the customer experience. Our research has shown that 49% of millennials are looking to customize their car. And that number is going to increase by 15% over the next 5 years. How can we harness this market? It's growing very rapidly. Our generation is looking to customize vehicles that are customized directly to our preferences, and we're looking to harness that, and we feel that this VR experience will allow them to customize their vehicle to their liking.
So, how do we reduce the cost along with all the great experience? One thing, we can reduce the staff training because we don't want a staff member to say something wrong and affect the manufacturer's business. And we also want to reduce the overall inventory cost, which will also reduce the real estate cost and the insurance. This also means lesser transportation expense, crossing multiple cars in large number across the states. And so we also want to improve the customer experience. So how do we go about that? You want to minimize the time. Imagine you want to go into a car dealer and you can just go sit in the VR application, customize it based on your requirements, and just select which one you want to test drive and just purchase and walk out. This saves you a lot of time, you have more customization options, and also there is an inclination to buy more stuff. Imagine you just see an add-on and that says pops up and says $1,000 and say, okay, that looks good, maybe I want to buy it. So there is a better potential increase of the revenue model here too. Now let's quickly look into the demo of our VR.
So here's our demonstration. I'm currently sitting in the driver's seat of an Aston Martin. I'm viewing the interior, starting the ignition, and then I want to hear what the exhaust sounds like, so I'll hit the pedal really quick. The interior looks good. Let's take it for a test drive. So we've implemented a virtual reality steering wheel as well, so you can test drive the vehicle. Now the inside looks great. Let's take a look at the outside of the car. So we'll hop out. We are now in the virtual reality showroom. We have full control over the customization options of this vehicle. Let's rotate it, get it out of the way. And now we can change the color, and we can see every color that that dealer has in stock. Maybe we want to change the model as well. So here we have a Dodge Challenger. We decided to change the model. Now your wife's getting mad at you. She's like, why are you looking at sports cars? We came here to get a truck. So you switch to the truck model. Not a fan of purple, so you change the color again. And this was done in 48 hours in Unity. So this is not a wide range of the features, but we can easily implement changing the tires, the rims, the body package, the engine, all with if we had more time. So this is just a very quick way to demonstrate our approach. And we also have scene functionality. So here you're seeing whatever car you choose in the scene that you want. So if you want to see what the car looks like in your driveway or on the road, you can put it there and see what it looks like in virtual reality. Now, our company's goal is to improve the customer experience. And we cannot do this if dealers will not accept this technology. The industry has been stable, and the way you buy a car has been the same for 50 years. So if you look at these charts, you can see that a conventional dealership is very, very costly to start. It costs over $11 million initially to start a conventional dealership. With our model, we can increase that, or decrease that, sorry, and save 80%.
Okay, let's look at what's next for our company. So for what we achieved right now was something that we did in 48 hours. So something that we would like to do in the future is possibly include seats, car seats, just the car seats by themselves, but with different materials, so the person could actually feel how it feels to sit in different kinds of seats. Also, maybe include vibration sensors or sounds that would emulate the sound that they would get while actually sitting in a car. And we would use this by putting sensors on an actual car and like get that data and kind of emulate it in a virtual environment. So the most important thing that we're really trying to do right now is improve on the customer feedback cycle. So the first thing is when the customer looks at our UI, they're choosing specific things that they really want to do. So when they do that, we can get information and gather that data and include that into our supply chain of what we're trying to do for the car manufacturers, so they can improve how to what features to include in their future iterations and what cars that they think should be in stock. And therefore, we would go through the cycle and really enhance the user experience of the car manufacturer's customer dealing experience.
So we are full immersion. We don't want to sell you a car, but we want to sell you the experience. So research has showed that a stronger bond between the customer and the product is generated in a better experience. Imagine you walk into a dealership and you have VR there, you customize your model, you choose what you want, do a test drive, book it online, and go back home to have it delivered in the next few days. So that's a very seamless model, and then I'm pretty sure that with this model you can also recommend it going forward, and it will generate a good revenue for both the manufacturers as well as the dealers. Thank you.
Judges, you have 5 minutes for questions.
So I have a question. So in the need to constantly kind of balance personalization with immediate gratification, right? We've already acknowledged the fact that you're not going to be able to drive away with the car because in theory you're customizing it fairly highly, right? So what is the benefit to coming into the dealership to do that, instead of doing that in the comfort of my own home?
Okay, so at our home, first of all, we need to have a VR headset which can actually simulate the whole environment, which is not feasible, or not all homes have that right now. And at a dealership, you could actually have a complete proper setup with a complete environment, like a seat and everything, which will actually give the whole feel of how it can be, the look and feel. You can look around and you can see that. And second thing is, at a home, for example, if you think of buying it, the customer segment who purchases a car may not be the segment who's actually wanting to use a VR. So there's a difference. For example, my dad buys a car for me, but he wouldn't actually want, he's not well versed with VR concept. So I still feel as a whole that we would need a couple more years, and the dealership, putting a VR at the dealership location would be the best for getting a best experience for your feature.
Also a test drive function is necessary. So if you're at home, you can't test drive the vehicle unless they obviously ship it to you, which sounds like a mess. So a dealership is necessary to be kind of middleman between you and the manufacturer, where you can test drive the model car you're looking to buy.
Related to Rachel's question, I'm curious what led you to a VR solution when you're actually in the dealership, and an AR solution might actually serve you better because you have the physical car there, and then you could either through wearables or through a tablet you can change the same features that you change in the VR. So I'm curious what led you to a VR solution.
Well, if it's an AR solution, then we would require them to have the physical models there. But here our value proposition is to reduce the total number of physical models and get it more virtualized. So you could have one model maybe, you could sit and feel it, but say you want to customize it, you want a different color, because not a lot of dealers have that option. So you might have that, you might have to go to a different dealer for that. You want to save your time, your money, and get a complete experience, and then you can order it online, or you can request for a test drive with your model.
You guys have probably all tried a VR headset. Considering what you have in the market today, what's available, versus what you might want for your experience, what would you like to see happen with the technology?
With the VR technology currently? Well, I believe that the headsets need to become cheaper, which we've already discussed in past presentations.
Even for the dealership?
For the dealership? Yes, of course. Maybe the dealership can afford a higher end model, I think, but they need to become more affordable, which is why we are having the dealership kind of be the middleman in this transaction, because I imagine very few people have their own personal virtual reality headset that can basically encapsulate the renderings that we're trying to get of a vehicle you're trying to purchase at home.
And do you guys have any issues with lots of people wearing them and hygiene and stuff like that?
No, sir. They make the padding that goes on the top. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Next team is Team Dash. Give the judges a second to finish scoring. Okay, Team Dash.
Who all has joined a gym at New Year's? Are you still going today? Why not? Are you too busy? Or is it not fun enough? Now imagine a way where we can make exercise fun. Imagine you're running and you can see your shadow behind you. And as it gets closer, you know to speed up, where zombies are chasing you. So much we can do creating an immersive world for an augmented reality.
We want you to choose to get up, work out, and have fun.
Our product provides you with AR through lightweight eyewear with different features and modes to keep you engaged. When you start, you can choose to outrun zombies, race your friends, or even compete against yourself. While running, you can view your body stats, a 3D map, and your opponents. Yes, I'm beating my past time. Studies show that both peer-to-peer motivation and self-motivation are required for persistence. Dash makes exercise fun. Dash makes it all possible and exercise fun.
I'm Tushar. I'm Malusha.
I'm Laisha.
I'm Shubham.
We are Team Dash.
Alright, so first we have to actually analyze this problem a little bit more. There's a lot of different reasons why people have to choose to stop working out. But a lot of general consensus can come down to reasons like how it's boring. It's not exactly the most fun if you're not used to exercising all the time. A lot of people have to get their bodies adjusted to the idea of exercise, but that takes a good amount of time, weeks even, that people just can't or don't want to put the time into. That's why we wanted to decide to that's why we want to develop a product that we know could make it more enjoyable or a better process to do so. But another reason is motivation. People don't feel like they have the motivation to want to keep trying to find a solution to exercising, no matter what the variety are that are available to them. So that's why our goal was to create a way to make exercise not only enjoyable, but a way that we all can enjoy at a low cost to a user. Now, in order to do so, we have several requirements that need to be met. First and foremost, though, is that in order to make us different from other competitors, we have to focus on the idea of making sure that our idea will motivate the user to want to keep returning. Because us returning, getting them to come back and continue exercising is the ultimate goal that we would love to see. After that, we would love to see an increase of people's having safety by making sure the virtual reality component of the project does not cover more than 40% of the screen at any given time. Even though the component is already transparent, as seen on most of the AR sets, it's still nice to not have anything that could significantly obstruct your view and keep the user very safe at all times. And beyond that, we have more applications that need to be considered, such as the ability to monitor a user's rate, immune specifications, such as heart rate. That way a user is able to log their data about themselves as they continue growing and going on, practicing their runs. Also, we want to make sure that it weighs less than 200 grams so that it's not too hard to move with while running. And we also want to make sure that people from all levels and all ages are capable of trying it, whether you want to run or walk. And most importantly, we had to make sure that it was simple for users to use. Because if it was difficult, no one would want to use it anyway. So we made sure that our interaction system was very simple with very small, easy to use gestures.
Some of the possible designs that we considered as our VR solutions were 5 minute of fitness, which made user look at the different problems that his or her body has. Then social workout, which would allow a user to interact with different social media friends and work out with them. And virtual gym, which is basically for any user who is intimidated to go to a gym and work out. But there are apps that already do it, and they do not promote activation of motivation. So we have a product which is Dash AR, and which mainly focuses on running. Why running? Because it is the most popular form of fitness exercise. Also, it has various benefits. Some of them are cognitive abilities. It alleviates stress, and it also helps improve bone health and heart health. And most importantly, you can do it anywhere.
So who's our market? Who are we selling to? We want to go from walkers, someone who maybe is not the fastest, but able to get out there and exercise using our product. The first-time runner, we want them to get off their couch and run their first 5K. And then an exercise enthusiast, imagine training where you could see yourself behind you, and as you get closer, you can pace yourself to keep improving. Or an athlete, imagine you're training for the Olympics, and behind you or in front of you, you can see your opponents as you're training.
So this is the design that we have right now. What we wanted to do is have a heart rate sensor on the back of the neck, which would help tell the heart rate. Then we would have it a lightweight device and a silver nano technology that would keep the sweat away and the antimicrobial. It would be lightweight, and it would have the cameras on the front to be able to detect and make lines along the path where you can follow and see your shadow and to be able to follow it. And so this is the user experience. So as you can see in the video, you had multiple game options. You had zombies, you had multiplayer where you can race against your friends, and you had the shadow. And then you can also see you have a map, so you can go from point A to point B without having to pull out your phone or anything else. And on the right-hand side is what we want our final thing to be.
Okay, so I'm really excited to talk about what we have come up with during this weekend. As you can see, this is the first-person view that the user is looking at. Those are the two runners, and the markers on them are like how far the shadow is from you. The shadow can be yourself from the past, or it could be your friend. So we have also integrated user interaction. So with a snap of a finger, you'll have heads-up display telling the distance traveled, the average speed, and the time of the routine that you're at. Also, you have the heart rate monitor as described earlier. Here what you have is the map of the track that you're running on. So you have had a good run, and now your advises you, okay, slow down a bit. So you're resting there and taking a look at the map, like who is behind you, where are your friends at, and all sorts of things. We also have some additional plans for it in the future, like what we want to do with it. This is what we came up with in the 2 days.
So if anyone wants to demo and dash with us after, let us know.
Yeah. So what's next? So right now we have shadow, multiplayer, zombies, normal. What we want to do in the future is be able to have other athletes. There's someone else that you could be able to race against. Maybe say that's Usain Bolt. Maybe he wears one of these, you collect their data, you store it, and you're able to call upon that data and race against Usain Bolt and see how you fare.
So we envision a future where exercise is fun. So imagine you are nearby people, you engage them and form a social network. You organize events, competitions, and you form a group of people who want to run, like on a weekly basis, on a daily basis. Then for me, like running is monotonous. So I will want to add hurdles onto my path. Like I can jump, I can climb, or I can do other stuff. For that, I would want an open source game development so that I can really build on my own. Also, I would want to have that, like, let us say I'm an athlete, I want to achieve a target of some milestone during the next 20 days. So depending upon my past history, the data analytics model will suggest me that, okay, you have achieved this much, and by maintaining this pace, you can achieve this milestone in 20 days, or it can recommend that to achieve this target, what you need to do more. Also, we plan on adding more features, like having a new background experience. Like I'm running indoors and I want a new experience, like running in a desert or running in anywhere else. Also, why only running? We can expand it across various other things like weightlifting, doing yoga, and many other things across different verticals.
So our end goal is to make running fun. Questions?
Thank you very much. Judges, you have 5 minutes for questions.
What steps are you going to take to ensure the safety of the users? So we all know it's hard to even just walk when we're looking at our phones, or we're distracted by other, even the phone, like the text coming in here would distract you. So how are you going to ensure safety, and what steps are you going to take to evaluate that?
So part of our design requirements was to make sure that only 40% of the user's view would be obstructed maximum. We also, going long term, we want to have sort of a rear view mirror so you can see what's behind you. So instead of having to turn your head and risk losing your visual in front of you, you'll be able to see it without having to do that. So we think we can increase safety that way.
How did you decide on the 40%?
So we were playing around with different models of different areas taking up most of the screen or less of it. And we figured when we got like almost everything covered, you lose the environment of your outdoors. So we want to be able to keep the environment outdoors and keep safety.
But why not less than 40%, I guess?
Well, we mainly decided that 40% will be the maximum that a user could do if they opened every single layer at once. But all of the layers would be minimized normally, except for what your current speed is and how far the person is away from you.
What kind of, looking at the landscape of headsets today, this seems like a dream. What would you want, in the future of, if you were to do this, what would you want from a technology perspective in the headset? And what did you develop this on? Was this a Meta or a HTC?
Yeah,
A Meta?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what we would want is a compact headset. Compact and wireless would be the best thing for this. It should be small, lightweight, so that also we can suggest a clip-on. It won't be a whole goggle, but a clip-on, so that we can project everything onto it. So that would be the.
Some people with glasses already can just put these on, go out for a run, and just take them off and have a normal activity.
Could work with any glasses. So that will be the potentially best thing.
Okay.
Did you consider how to integrate audio in this? Think about how many people run with audio, right, and music. And especially if you do want to have immersive backgrounds at some point, right? You can hear the backgrounds around you, so that's the full experience. Have you considered how that integrates with audio?
Actually, that's trivial. With most of the headsets, we have a audio feedback, so we can always listen to music on audio pins.
And in addition, with audio, we think that would be really cool to have a feature one day where if you're racing into your friend in another area, you could physically hear them or talk to them, so you can compete side by side.
So I often wear sunglasses when I run. How is that going to impact your design?
Well, the way our design works is more so by having a reflective surface that would show it to you. And yes, if you're wearing dark glasses, it would not work as well if you kept it as a typical way. But the way that we start the program is by allowing you to calibrate your senses around. And once you calibrate your senses, it'll also take into account the color.
Cool.
Do you guys think about what other data might be interesting to show people, such as environmental air quality and things like that?
Yeah, as we said, zombies.
In Austin, recently some runners were attacked, right? And you could potentially notify people if there'd been an attack.
We could have an alert system. We could have a humidity and area pressure sensors all around. So you can see the temperature. You can see what the weather's like when you're about to go for a run, what it's like a little bit later, or other. You can just incorporate any sensors. And it can be very modular.
Okay, all right. Thank you all very much. Thank you very much. BioViz is next. And give our judges just a second to finish scoring. All right, so everybody ready? Okay, BioViz.
Data is being collected and analyzed. However, at each step of patient transfer, it's possible to lose crucial information along the way, leaving an incomplete picture. 80% of serious medical errors are due to miscommunication, and 30% of malpractice cases include miscommunication as a factor. This translates to nearly 400 preventable deaths in the US, and roughly $340 million in cost to US hospitals every year. Clearly, something must be done. Now, what if we could paint a more complete picture? What if we could prevent the loss of information from occurring in the first place? That's where BioViz comes in. an augmented reality patient profiling system. BioViz integrates input from every healthcare professional who has contact with the patient throughout their entire life. This creates a collaborative community that continuously builds the patient's personal three-dimensional profile, so you're never left without the complete picture. The system serves as a central hub for all the patient's medical information. Using BioViz, the opportunities to improve patient care are truly limitless. Together, we can paint a picture, not a problem.
Howdy. So we are BioViz, and this is the team. My name is Evan Looper. I'm a senior biomedical engineering student.
My name is Quinn Wolfer. I'm a senior biomedical engineering student.
My name is Sagar Patel. I'm a sophomore general engineering student.
My name is Alejandro Arroyo. I am a junior multidisciplinary engineering technologist.
And I'm Frank Rosa, and I'm a senior computer engineer.
So I think it might have been a little bit difficult to hear the beginning of the video, but what we're trying to do is minimize the loss of information that occurs when patients are transferred from hands, whether that be from one health institution to another, from doctor to doctor. And so we didn't just come to this solution, we actually developed this idea from an initial need statement of visualizing biological data. And we took this into the space of a hospital setting, or the clinical setting, as a way to visualize patient data. And so we developed these requirements that our system would need to have. First of all, being mobile and intuitive. It needs to utilize the current medical record systems that are already in place. It needs to transform this two-dimensional data that is stored in records into a three-dimensional space. It needs to offer concise and complete data, and it needs to, of utmost importance, maintain patient confidentiality.
The three designs that we thought would meet those requirements are AR glasses that display patient information on the patient themselves, and AR glasses that display 3D biological systems on a 3D space, or a tablet-based system with AR that displays and visualizes data. We thought the tablet was the most intuitive and easy to use, which is why we picked it. Well, what we see as conceptual design is some sort of identification, facial recognition, which would load up an AR patient information onto the patient with information specifically catered towards a professional looking at it, so they would have every information they need quickly, with also a 3D model on the right side of it, highlighted the important areas and where they need to look at. The next up is Frank with our prototype.
Yeah, let's check out this prototype. So I'm a doctor and I just walked into the room. At a first glance, I can already see this application is stamped on my patient's face, and it can already give me a brief overview of everything I need to know about this patient. So we get the general data on the side, on the left, and real-time data from all the sensors on the right. Below that, you can see a little bit of a little 3D model right there, and highlighted in red is the different areas that we need to be interested in. And so we're kind of trying to diagnose Daisy right here, but I want a little bit more. I have these, 5 little key factors, so I have a general idea of what to pay attention to, but I want to see your complete medical history. Well, click on that button, we can see a complete panel of what we need to know. Prior history, family history, medical history, even real-time data from the vitals. And on this side panel right here, we can also edit, observe, maybe even take some notes on the model that we've already discussed. So we go back to exactly the 3D model right here. So if I click on this 3D model, I can render my patient in several different layers. So if they have MRI scans, CT scans, different things to see, we can strip away different layers on the side. Now in the middle, we have a different kind of model where we can zoom in, stretch, rotate, whatever we need to do to get the best kind of observation about our patient. And the similar little red bubbles that you saw on the front screen, in the 3D model screen, same idea, except now they'll contain different kind of data and scans for us to highlight and see all the different scans on the side panel on the right side right here. All right, so now we're going to talk about some of the benefits that these cool features have.
So you're probably asking yourself, how is this system better than what's already out there, the typical electronic medical records? I'll give you a quick overview of some data in that for a typical reader can read between 200 and 400 words per minute. But US researchers have recently found that the human brain can interpret an image in just 13 milliseconds. So in 1 minute, that's 4,600 words. And so that's a tremendous amount of data that a doctor could read that could understand very quickly instead of having to go through many reports. And another thing is that we're working to build a comprehensive network that can maintain patient records to reduce medical errors that plague U.S. hospitals today. We're also able to use our 3D model to illustrate to patients and a medical team the illnesses or injuries that the patient is experiencing. And now this extensive data and the 3D model can also be used in an educational setting, in that we can look at a plethora of scenarios where a student can experience, analyze, and learn from. Now, you can also reduce the time for diagnosis, and which would allow faster treatment. Also, you can also do less time between patients with a more efficient and relevant data that the doctor is given. So this time difference in minutes and even seconds could be the difference between a life saved versus a life lost.
So what we'd be offering is an electronic subscription-based service. And so what is the demand for this? Where's the need? And actually, in 2014, there was a federal mandate that requires all public and private health institutions to move towards electronic medical records. So the demand is already there. It's already been created for us. We just found a problem with the current system, and we're proposing a solution, a better way to visualize and prevent these problems from occurring. And so our system would integrate seamlessly with the medical record systems that are already in place in the hospitals and just build upon the data that's already been collected. It would also be a competitive alternative to the bulky solutions that are currently in the hospital for taking the patient information, such as the one you see on the screen there, the large terminal. So who is going to benefit and who would be purchasing this service? Well, like I said, potentially all public and private healthcare providers. And this could be anywhere from an emergency responder, the EMS, the hospitals, or even a patient sitting in their own home interfacing with their doctor at the hospital could benefit from a service like this.
So put into practice, I think it's pretty easy to see that BioViz would be an amazing tool to allow doctors and nurses to more quickly, safely, and securely transfer data about patients between each other. But what about in the future? How can we innovate? How can we evolve? How can we get better, right? Well, I think that's where BioViz truly shines. With support for the latest in AR and VR features, as well as multiple different system architectures, BioViz allows you to apply it in a multitude of opportunities. And you see, doctors and nurses of the future applying BioViz in these ways will make it into a standard, a global standard of healthcare data visualization. Gone will be the days of all these different report formats, scan repositories all over the place, and different doctors losing information. It'll be one cohesive ecosystem to serve the patient of the 21st century and beyond. So thank you very much, and I hope you can paint this picture with us.
Judges, you have 5 minutes for questions.
Did you guys consider how to take more advantage of the AR aspects of the technology? So basically what I got from this, it was patient or facial recognition, and then it pulled up the back end to the data, but perhaps other ways to take advantage of AR is looking at the patient.
Yeah. So like we said, from an image, you can gather data a lot quicker than from text. So the idea is if we can represent the data that is normally presented to them in a quicker way, then all the better. Right now, we don't have any sensors that we can read from. We don't have any confidential files we can kind of get a hold of. So that's why we had kind of static pictures right there. So ideally, yeah, we could would like to explore different opportunities of, how can they read this the fastest way instead of just present it in an outline.
And going off of that a little bit, we'd like to in the future utilize, like you saw in the 3D model, there was just a skeletal portrayal, but in the future we'd like to have different layers you can peel back. It'd be almost a teaching tool, but also you could use it as a way to consult with a patient, show how a therapy would work, demonstrate on the model, or even visualize an MRI in a 3-dimensional way.
or even a CT scan, stuff like that.
So you mentioned that maintaining patient confidentiality was a must, and one cohesive system is fantastic, but that makes you that much more vulnerable. So how did you guys consider maintaining confidentiality?
I think the security aspect is that there's already tons of firms out there, and in terms of medical centralization too, already built in without virtualization. So we would have to maintain, as BioViz, maintain that level of security at the same time. But we recognize that security is an evolving format, so as new vulnerabilities and other attacks get recognized, we have constant patches to keep the security level up and to the highest degree possible.
And at the lowest level, whoever's subscribed to the service, whether that be a hospital or some other private institution, the only authorized users are the ones that are directly working with the patient, the ones that are authorized to log into the system and access that data.
Is the delivery platform a tablet or a wearable?
Right now it can be deployed to anything. Our ideal choice is a tablet, just because it's something that's already in hospitals. It's easy to use, it's easy to carry around. Unlike a lot of AR sets right now, it's mobile. You don't have to be hooked up to a computer. So that's kind of where we're shifting the advertisement to.
Okay, so considering that patients are kind of in a fragile kind of state of mind anyway, how do you think they're going to feel about being scanned with that? I guess it goes back to Brian's question about couldn't you scan something else that would bring up their data, and then you could bypass the whole facial recognition. What kind of other things have you considered?
And that's a great observation, because currently, as I might have mentioned before, it's a supplement. So if you have your iPhone, face scans, maybe you don't want to do a face scan, there's always a backup. And as the system is right now, people do have, hospitals have it set up where you have QR codes. It can be, certainly preference of the patient. Even fingerprint scans is something we talked about. Because with fingerprint scannings, it's still identical, it's still, unique. And it's less intrusive to some cases.
And I just wanted to say, as I said in the future possibilities component, since BioViz is able to be applied to pretty much any AR or VR system, as new technologies come about with glasses that are more mobile, more capable, it will be able to fit in, AR glasses like here and that look like this, and you'll just walk up to a patient and it'll just in your vision list all of the different pieces of data that are relevant.
So I guess my question wasn't as much geared towards, Brian's question, but more towards the comfort of the patient. I mean, one of the reasons Google Glass wasn't so successful was because it was kind of deemed an awkward barrier to communication. So I think that's something that you guys will need to bear in mind going forward.
Did you guys consider other environments other than the patient-facing environment? Could this be doctors collaborating or pre-surgery?
Oh,
what made you select the patient-facing one as the focus?
Well, we were given an initial need to use it for visualizing patient biological data, either in for the patient in a computational setting or for the doctor. And so we found really that we could address a problem out there today with miscommunication and loss of data through using the AR technology and a comprehensive network. And so that's why we really want to focus on that, and we want to capitalize on error and loss of lives and something that we can prevent.
Yeah, my thinking there was, when a doctor walks up to a room, they always grab the chart and spend time in the hallway, right? I mean, this may be something that, I love the idea of a patient dashboard. Maybe something to use before you get to the patient.
Yeah. Okay, unfortunately, we have run out of time. Thank you very much, BioViz. And the final team for this evening is ants. Just a second.
Howdy.
Howdy.
My name is Diego. I'm Ryan.
I'm Esther. I'm Jasmine. I'm Leo.
I'm Jack. And together we are ants. So I know this is the last presentation. I see some people asleep in the crowd, so I want to start off with some audience participation. From a show of hands, how many of y'all recognize one of the logos I have on screen? Okay, good. I have Facebook, you have Instagram, she has Snapchat. Everybody loves information, right? And in our modern day and age, we have information everywhere. We have so much access to it. And when you think about information and how readily available it is, you think about the pros, but what about the cons? Specifically, on the US economy. Now, this is a big number, but what if I told you that $100 billion are lost every year as a result of information overload or the presence of too much information? There's a big number, put this in, because the real number is $900 billion. With so much information out there, we can't possibly expect it to take it all.
Do you use all of the information you take in? In our modern society, we are constantly bombarded by an overflow of information. Some of this information is useful, but the majority is irrelevant. All of this unnecessary information translates to wasted time, and as we all know, wasted time is wasted money. This problem is especially true in manufacturing, where thousands of processes and interactions happen almost daily. Miscommunication between people and systems equates to millions of dollars of lost revenue for big companies such as Dell. To solve these problems, we created ANTS. ANTS is an AR system that filters and effectively displays relevant information based on your roles and capabilities. It connects systems, improves worker efficiency, and incorporates big data analytics in real time. Our platform eliminates the need for a learning curve as well as decreases communication delays along a chain of command. The bottom line is that ANTS increases efficiency through the reduction of NPT, improves the quality of performance and production, and lowers costs associated with training and lost productivity. With ANTS, you won't need to use all of the information that you take in, because you'll only take in the information that you need to use. Can we count on you to join our colony?
We're going to talk about our problems and requirements and the process we went through in order to get to our final product. We'll describe that final product to you. We'll talk about our business model, how we're going to make money. We're going to talk about our future goals and maybe initiatives in the future. And then we're going to open up the floor to questions.
Okay, so in manufacturing, efficiency is lost. A lot of efficiency is wasted due to irrelevant information and lack of connectivity between the systems. And so as you can see, this is a real problem in this field. And so based on these needs, we developed 5 engineering requirements. So it needs to display data. It needs to be role customizable. The data is displaying. It needs to be in real time. It needs to be real data, big data analytics, and most of all, it needs to be user friendly because we want everyone to be able to use it. And so, from these requirements, we came with 3 different solutions. The first one is a hard hat headset. The second one is a VR training game, and the third one is the Internet of Things AR platform. And in the end, we decided to focus on the last one.
So, basically,
Basically, ANTS is a virtual tool that will effectively filter out information that is useful to the user depending on their field of work. From here, we're able to create an interface for these workers depending on their divisions in the manufacturing setting. So in this way, we're able to connect these systems using a cloud server and also improve worker efficiency for each of the workers depending on what kind of problem is at hand and what kind of tools can be made to solve that problem right there and then using big data analytics in real time.
So basically, how our system works is that in a company or a factory, there's a lot of different machines that have different information in them, and such as statistics, parts that need repaired, and they're all sending that data to a main database. But programmed in the AR headset is visualizing the data that is effective, that's relevant to them. And so the technical implementation is that we plan to use Dell's headset, and we want to use a cloud computing network, as mentioned earlier, and there's a software within our headsets that connect all the employees together, so that it will, that purpose of that would increase communication and increase productivity. Oh, and the whole idea with this is that there's a man and machine like relationship here, where the machine is helping the man and the employee is giving information to the machine, and it's just a mutually beneficial relationship. And the whole idea is that companies who are able to use AR technology innovatively are going to be able to predictively increase productivity within their company. And Jasmine's going to talk about our user interface.
I'm going to briefly go over this, and if you have any questions, just feel free to ask at the end. So this is what someone at the line, like the front line, would see. And it would essentially show them if there's any defects in the product line. Next, this is if they hire a new employee, but they don't have the time or resources to train them themselves, they would use our system to kind of put them through a virtual walkthrough of their daily tasks. And this is like if they have a situation and only an off-site technician can kind of solve it, they can remote him in, and it'll display like a 3D representation and kind of give him the real-time data, so he doesn't have to actually be there to help them out. This is what the plant manager would be looking at, and it would just be like a general overview of how everything's running, just if the productivity is kind of, going whack. And within that same, this is kind of showing how the worker would interact with the data, so they'd be able to move it around, stretch it, kind of move it to how they'd like to see it. And within that same facility, someone in inventory wouldn't want to see what the project manager is seeing, so they would only filter out the data so they can see like the counts of their products and all that. And lastly, this is kind of showing how real-time data can be used to visualize through like a thermal vision. And it's kind of showing like the heat thresholds of the drill, so they can kind of see in real time how it's interacting with the material.
Let's talk about the business model. So we work together with manufacturing corporations in order to tailor this AR UI to their specifications. They have different workers within their system, different cogs within their machine, so they all need different systems. We help build this system using their databases, maybe their past cases and clients, and we tailor it so they have different roles. And in turn, this increases efficiency, decreases downtime or non-productive time, and in return, creates new revenue streams for both us and the manufacturers. And obviously our target market is manufacturers. We believe that the manufacturing process takes too long. It's very confusing. There's a big learning curve towards it, and there's a big information disconnect in that there's so much of it. Within manufacturers, we have three main user segments that we like to target. We want to target the man on the front line. We want to target the expert that helps him. And we want to target the managers that help them. And this is a very valuable commodity we believe we stumbled upon. It's a very unique proposition. We've done some research, and we believe there's nothing out there that is similar to this. 1/3 of all IoT funding is being invested into manufacturing because there's such a viable need here. And we believe we've struck gold. If you look at the competition, we only really found two main competitors. They're both German firms, and they both have different focuses, and they don't integrate IoT or big data analysis. So as you can see, we have the clear competitive advantage.
Is this big data analysis that lets ants be so valuable in the future? And in order to have big data analysis, of course, you have to have large amounts of data. And where better to get that than a large company who has many similar factories beneath them, and in each factory, many workers doing similar tasks that they're already collecting the data for. Our program would simply process and analyze that, and then redistribute that data in digestible chunks to the appropriate person in the appropriate way in an appropriate time. This way, you would increase your productivity from the bottom up. And why stop there? Say if multiple companies in the same sector use this technology, you could pull your data and have a more effective ant system. And why even stop in manufacturing? If many people got this all over the world in different sectors, it could help doctors diagnose patients. It could help men on the front line more assess the situation better based on past experiences from other people. It starts with demonstrating value, which is easiest to do as shown in this presentation in manufacturing. So putting this in the hands of people who can do the most with it begins with you. So the question is, are you ready to take the jump and become a part of our colony? We're going to open the floor to questions.
Thank you very much. The judges, you have 5 minutes for questions.
Can you explain your name, the product?
Oh, ANTS. Yeah, it is actually an abbreviation. Oh gosh.
It's Augmented Network Training System, which is cool because it's augmented network training, which is kind of ambiguous. Because is it a training system through a network, or is it training the system? Is it network training? And the answer is it's both. So it's learning from the worker, and the worker's teaching it. So if the machine sees something it's never seen before, a problem that gets solved, it takes note and learns from that.
And we also thought it was a very clever name. We thought a lot of ant puns in that we carry more than our own weight. You can join our own colony. You can
How quickly does the information need to refresh, and have you thought about latency, getting the information from the database onto the headset?
Well, that's why it's like big. That's why like big data analysis is done in like real time, right? So you want to refresh that information like each time it's like updated from the cloud server and also like to like the backups, like storage. So you have that network like connected to like each, depending on like what like manufacturing setting it is, or whether the machine is like handling creating like different types of loads. So you want to like build these kind of sensors to alert the other like workers along the line to see like, oh, is there something wrong with this machine? Like, what's its history? Like, when's the last time it hasn't been fixed? Anything like that.
And it is a cloud computing system, so there may be a very big initial investment, but we believe this pays off over time. If you remember that number from the start, $900 billion for the U.S. economy, it pays for itself.
Okay. How are you mapping what information is needed for each role? Are you allowing the roles to self-select, or is that something that the technology will actually do for each role as time goes on?
Be pre-assigned, probably by upper management all the way down. And their learning style, if they're more visual or audio, or they need to see graphs, they can select customizable things like that. So the information they get is up to someone above them in the chain of command, but how they receive it is up to the individual.
And this is kind of where machine learning comes into play. So there was an example, like let's say along assembly line, there's a defect, but there's sensors or somebody didn't catch it. So someone can actually manually take it out and log that as a defect. So the next time that comes by, it'll actually catch it because the first time it didn't. So it's just kind of, it learns over time.
Yeah, you kind of made that illusion that maybe you're teaching the machines. Is there a bigger play here for you?
We just view it as a mutually beneficial relationship. I think you can explain this best, actually.
Yeah, so like basically, as we mentioned earlier, the machine like learns as the employee works at their task, and whenever they do like a new behavior, it's gonna like pick up on that behavior, and then it's gonna know that that's what they actually do. So it helps with like incorporating that aspect.
Yeah, we want to help. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, like basically like tracks on this, like all those like different behaviors. Like since the machine is learning this, like we want to like store like any like deviance and like behavior, and like basically create like an analysis over those trends like over time.
I think, yeah, you said this before earlier too. It's really not about the data, it's about the decisions. And by teaching the machines the decisions, now you have a greater chance of automation, right?
And that's why we think it's so great in factory setting, because it pretty much is a control setting. Everything is the same, everything is automated, and that's where you can kind of build up the system to extrapolate over different fields and different industries.
And the person, say you have one worker who's way more efficient than the others, when you're training the system, maybe each, like the very best workers could wear it, and then essentially your best worker, all your workers become your best worker. So it ups the efficiency of that.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you all very much. Thank you very much. The judges and I are going to retire back to the conference room, and we will be back in just a few minutes with the decision on the winners of this particular competition. We'll be back in a few minutes. Cool.
Oh, yo. Okay, quick. Thanks. Second place.
All right. Nan McNamara, if you will.
Whoa, she'll be back. She'll be here in just a second.
First of all, as you'll notice, it took the judges quite a long time to try to figure out how to make the awards. I must say that everybody was incredibly impressed with the progress that all of y'all had made throughout this entire weekend. I know it's been hard. I know it's been difficult. I know that everyone is sleep deprived. I mean, I realize that. And I know everybody's got to go to school tomorrow as well. So, and I know some of y'all have papers and all of these other kinds of things due by midnight tonight. eCampus is not forgiving, and I know this. You know, because some of my students have the same thing that they have to do, so we all understand that. So for all of y'all who are participating, thank you so much for giving us your time this weekend. I hope you got the experience out of it that allows you to see how you can use this in your future career. The other thing I want you to do is I want to thank a few people. First of all, I want to thank all of the mentors and support that we've had from Dell and from all of the other companies. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you so much. The other thing I'd like to do is to thank our student team, the student worker team. You had a number of student workers here throughout the entire time, and a couple of them are actually going to be graduating in December. So they actually came up and still allowed and still participated with us the entire time. Parl and Fika in the back there, they are graduating and moving on. Thank you all very much. And then finally, one great round of applause for the person who kept us fed and comfortable the entire weekend, and that's Stephanie back there. So thank you very much. All right, so enough of me prattling, and Ann, if you will come up here. This is the third place winner, and again, it was very, very difficult for all of us to do this, and we're going to ask you to come up as a team. We'll take a quick picture, and then we'll move on. So the third place winner is A-Architecture.
Congratulations. Well done. Congratulations.
Okay, y'all move over. Move over a little bit.
Maybe up there.
You want to
go in the middle?
Sure. Yeah, go in the middle.
That's perfect.
Get in a little more. Get to me. All right.
It's for you.
All right, congratulations.
Good luck.
And here's our second place winner. The second place winner is AKU.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Y'all move in front of the. We're gonna go in front of the logos here. We're gonna get in front of all this stuff, right? There we go. There we go. Okay, perfect.
Let's get the check in the middle. You guys want to hold it?
Get the check in the middle. There you go.
Let's move a little more.
The other way, over this way a little bit. There you go.
Yeah.
Sorry for positioning, but nonetheless, it's important.
All right.
Perfect. Oh, and by the way, these checks are not cashable. I want them back. We will find out. We'll put the money will go into your student accounts as scholarship money. And I don't have a check for the first place winners because the first place winners are actually going to be receiving something else, and I believe that y'all have an example of what you're going to be receiving. First place winners are going to be receiving a laptop. And I think it's a really tremendous show of support. And again, Dell has been here the entire weekend and has really provided a lot of partner support. The first place team is Team Shovel.
Thank you so much. Congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations. Congratulations. Thank you. Good job. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, is Dell up correct? Is that okay? I just want to make sure one that's down.
Alright, get a little closer. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, again, thank you everyone for your participation, your great spirit, and everything that y'all did throughout the entire weekend. If we could have everybody come right back up here and take a very quick group shot, and we will send you on your way. Thank you very much for the entire weekend.
All over. Can we follow I'll just Thank you.
All right, come on, let's get everybody together. Come on.
It's not an insult, I'm just saying.
All right, come on, let's get everybody together.
Y'all should like crouch.